Hi, it's Stace. I'm so glad you're here. I saw a cardinal just now, so I'm pretty stoked about it. I want to talk about this question that I have gotten a lot of, which is, can two codependent people be in a relationship? And obviously the answer to that is yes, but the more poignant thing, in my opinion, is can they sustain that relationship? So I want to talk about that today. Codependent people, in my energetic understanding of it, the way that we become codependent in the first place is when we are asked to abandon our own needs for the sake of other people's emotionality. So your mom's allowed to have anger, your dad's allowed to be depressed or lazy, but you are not allowed to be any of those things. So there is this projection onto you that you have to be the space holder for your authority figures. So we will inevitably, we're born to an authority figure, and if we were all born in the way that we should be born, it would be like being born under God, and our mothers would be God herself, and every one of our needs would be met until our mother, which would be God in this case, taught us through slow initiation how to individuate. And by nature that would happen, but some mothers are enmeshed, so they don't let us individuate, and some other mothers are very rigid, and some are both, which is even more twisted, but some are very rigid, and they say, you're individuating at 3 months, you're going to just like suck this up and deal with this. So all of our codependent tendencies, in my opinion, are created from the voids that happen within us every time we're asked to abandon ourselves for the sake of somebody else. So it's no different than walking into a house and smelling the air and going, shit, it's going to be rough today. Or hearing the way that somebody's footsteps come up the steps and you're like, fuck, eggshells, oh my God. So what we do in that moment as codependents is we immediately step into a position of acquiescing to keep peace, to maintain an equilibrium. It doesn't matter where the scale tips, we're always going to be able to find a way to create an equilibrium for the space, because we were taught that that's our role. Our role is basically to not have feelings, to allow everybody else to have feelings. We're not really allowed to have desires. We definitely aren't allowed to have needs. And if we are, we have to keep quiet about them. And by all means, we should definitely feel guilty that we have them. So we are taught to hold space for everybody else. We're never taught to hold space for ourselves. And we're definitely never taught that we're even allowed to have a self, right? Like we are almost the puppet for somebody else's emotional and atmospheric lifestyle, okay? So that being said, you put two of these people together with codependent tendencies, two things are going to happen. One, neither of them are ever going to make a move, because neither of them actually know who they are, and they're both waiting for somebody else to reflect back to them who they want them to be, because our lives have been the result of people reflecting back to us who we should be in that moment. So we would be a different vibe, not really vibe, but temperature every day for the sake of somebody else. But never did we say, you know what, this shit ain't working for me. Like, never did we include ourselves in the equation. So you put two codependent people like that, who were always taught that their needs didn't matter. They're going to, if they get together in a relationship, they're going to play out the roles of the hierarchy that they're used to. Inevitably, one will pull rank and say, because we are so used to emotional superiority, and that's the only way we've seen relationships modeled to us, that's the only way we've been in relationships, one will either pull rank and be the oppressor, and the other will be the oppressed, and that will be comfortable for them, because that's just, the oppressor, ironically, in this situation, might feel a little bit pissed off that she has to be the oppressor. Or, there will inevitably be resentment there, because to establish those roles will be inauthentic to both people. And I'm going to try to explain why. Because codependent people are taught that they don't really have a self. A relationship is basically a game that they are a puppet in. So even if two codependent people really love each other, the second that the relationship becomes uncertain, that hierarchy is going to kick in naturally. The animal is going to go, okay, how do I win this game to win this person over? And in some situations, that might have to look like I have to be the oppressor, because that person wouldn't, almost needs to ground. She needs somebody to say, I'm in control of you, so you feel safe. And that might work for their relationship. So there's inevitably going to be an inauthenticity going on, because there's going to be roles that are pulled out of thin air just because that's what they're used to, or nobody's going to make a move, and they're just going to kind of hold space for each other, and they're never going to ground. And that's going to inevitably happen because they don't want to project onto somebody else who they want them to be. They genuinely want them to be themselves, but to two codependent people who haven't established themselves yet as a grounded core, able to hold space for themselves, not just for other people, there's going to be nowhere to go. There's just going to be too much space. So the way that we can trust that we can sustain a relationship with another codependent person is by doing the work of truly losing ourselves and everything that we thought we were, all of the things that told us we're not allowed, we can't ask for our needs, we don't have permission to state our desires, even if we did. There's always some defensiveness with a codependent until we do the work of like, I'm saying that this is my desire, but fuck you, because I already expect that I'm not gonna get it, even if we're like asking for it kindly. And there's work. That's work. It's a path that is not easy, and it's not quick. It's work. But to do the work, if you want to be in a relationship with another codependent, if you actually love this person, and the only person you can change is yourself, and the way to be sure that you are grounded and magnetic enough to not just be lost in thin air, holding space for somebody else who's holding space for everybody else and hasn't also established a core themselves, is for you to establish your core, you to bring it all in, hold space for yourself, to be in your truth, and be shameless about it. And that right there is grounded authenticity. And you might have a codependent relationship with another codependent for the entirety of your lives, but it will be chaos. It'll always play out role switching, and it will literally rob you of your experience of humanness, because you're always going to be up here going, what is this game? I got to win this game. And my love, don't bother winning the game, because the game is not where you want to be. Where you want to be is embodied, and how you get there is by doing the work to embody. And when you do the work to embody, you become the magnet that is the example for your codependent lover to see themselves reflected by your core. Because as a codependent, we are inevitably going to, we're going to want to play out the powerful role at some point in our lives, because we've never been able to do that. So ideally, that's with a very intact person who will allow us to feel on top of ourselves in a relationship, but not on top of the relationship. There's a very big difference. So somebody with a very intact core is going to be very grounding for that codependency, because it's just going to stop it right there. But two codependents, they're so used to energetic enmeshment that when you put two of them together and it just feels like air, fairy, like they're just making problems out of thin air, they're just like, they don't even know what's going on, it's because there's no established individual core. And when one person in the relationship has that core, codependency stops. Okay? Just be careful to catch the roles that you're going to want to play if you're in a codependent relationship with, and I shouldn't even say that. You don't even have to be codependent, but in a relationship with somebody else who also identifies as a codependent. Okay? I think that's it for today. Thank you for listening. If you understood that, you're totally my people. Bye, guys.